Hey, it's Swanson, and it is Friday night, and I just took a bath. I have no makeup on, but I did just blow out my hair, and this is just me on a Friday night doing a few yoga moves that I've been working on. This is a flow for, it's a dynamic flow for a better balance. So go ahead and try it. You're gonna start, you can face me with your mat, but I'm gonna go sideways so that you can see what I'm doing. And start at the top of your mat with your feet about hip distance apart. Bring your hands to heart center and find a focal point. So this will be something that is ahead of you, possibly down, but without making your head come down. And you'll come back to that continually as we go through this practice. So eyes go to the focal point, but standing as tall as you can. Keep the feet hip distance apart as you step your right foot back into a high lunge. So you can be as high as you'd like, you could be a little lower if you'd like. Just make sure your knee is not past your ankle, and look down at your knee, make sure it's directly over your ankle. And then find a little bounce here, so you can bend into that back knee. If there's any pain in your low back, you may even want to stay bent into your back knee if you feel it pulling. So find that little bit of buoyancy, and then find the focal point. And if you're facing me, it might be at the keyboard, but not right on me because I move. And step forward, feet hip distance apart. Take a moment, look down, make sure your feet actually are hip distance apart. And then, other side. Step the left foot back into the high lunge. Find your balance. In order to do that, you want to find the alignment of the knee and then scissor your thighs together to feel a lifting action. So you'll also feel this in your core, making sure you're not sticking your low ribs out, tucking them in, and engaging the abdominal muscles that are kind of holding things in while you're breathing. Find that buoyancy, and step forward, feet hip distance apart. Right leg steps back once again, and then take your right arm and cross it over your body like you're reaching for something off to the side. So you'll feel your core twist, but keep the knees right where they're at. Grab that and then come back to center. Find that buoyancy, focal point, step forward. Left foot steps back. Left arm reaches, grabs, come back. Buoyantly step forward. Right foot steps back, and then take your right arm and reach it up and over and come into a side stretch. And then open your chest forward and up, and take a few deep breaths here. So you'll probably feel this in your hip flexors of this back leg. The back knee could be bent slightly or straight, whatever works for you. And then bring your hands back to heart center, step forward. Left side, step on back. Reach the left arm up and over, side stretch. Open the heart center. Take another deep breath. Bring your hands to heart center and step forward. Right foot steps back, and this time come into a warrior two. So your front heel is in alignment with your back arch, and come down as far as you'd like, opening your hips and shoulders and arms. Now look at your front knee and notice if it's kind of skewed in. Engage the inner thigh, bring it directly over the knee, and then once again make sure the low ribs are in, the core is engaged, particularly the transverse abdominals, which are kind of imagining that these two hip points are pulling in toward each other. But you don't want to force it because you still want to keep breathing. You might even feel your pelvic floor lifting. Just notice what you feel. And pivot forward and step forward. So if you're a little wobbly in that, that's okay. Trying to find grace in it as you practice. Left foot steps back, and then come into your warrior two on this side. Make sure your front knee, the knee is right over the ankle. Make sure your core is engaged, but you're still breathing. And imagine somebody gently pulling your arms in both directions. Another deep breath. Lift your toes for a moment, place them down. Bring your hands to heart center. Pivot forward and see if you can gracefully step forward. Perhaps make sure your feet are actually hip distance apart and parallel. And last set, step your right foot back. And if you have blocks, you may want to put blocks down, or you could grab onto the floor, or even a chair, or even the wall, whatever you'd like to. So coming down to hold the blocks at the low, medium, or high level, or onto the floor, just take a moment and see if you can lift that back leg. So it may just lift a little bit, or it may lift to be parallel to the floor, working toward that. Find a focal point just a few feet ahead of you so you're not lifting the head up too much. And make sure your back leg is straight and strong. You may have to come down a few times and then come back up. So the back leg, think of it as a raw noodle. It's hard to hold up if there is a cooked wet noodle here, so you want to think of it as a raw noodle. Nice and straight and strong. And the standing leg, the knee is slightly bent, so you feel your quadriceps engaged, front of your thigh. And then step back into the lunge. This is challenging. Come up. See if you can come into that transition. Make sure in order for that to happen, your feet are still hip distance apart, so you're not walking a straight line, which makes it really hard. And then step forward, feet hip distance apart. And other side when you're ready, but take a moment and feel the difference between the two sides. Left foot will step back as you're ready. Your blocks could just stay there if you're using them, or chair or wall or whatever you're using for support. Or reach down to the floor. Find your focal point, probably a new focal point, and then lift that raw noodle up. Make sure the foot is flexed as if you're trying to step on the wall behind you, shoulders relaxed. And if you'd like to play with balance, you can even start to play with lifting your arms, but always know that you have the blocks, the floor, or you could step back down. So those are your ways out to gracefully fall. Maybe even just the fingertips lift. And as you're ready, transition and back. If the transition is difficult for you, just take a moment and envision it, and then do it. So in your mind's eye, do it first. Same with the stepping forward. Find the focal point. Imagine stepping forward, and then step forward. Release your arms down. And just take a moment to feel the resulting sensations from the dynamic balance series. All right, thank you for joining me. I'm a little bit short of breath. It was challenging, so I hope you were challenged too, and I'll see you next time.